Good morning, everyone. It's so good to have you with us today. Thank you for joining us for our 6th anniversary. So before we get started, I just want to acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the First Nations, and in many cases, Native American peoples. So all of us, I myself and my family are on the land of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations here in the Vancouver, British Columbia area. But I know many of you are on the land of other nations. So if you'd like, please feel free to write those nation names in the chat now. And always, let's remember our connection to our siblings in these nations. And let's pray for the day in which we might be together in right relationship. So welcome. Welcome to Living Interfaith. Know that the whole of you is welcome. You're not asked to leave who you are in your own homes. Instead, please bring who you are in with you. What you are asked to remember is that everyone around you has brought who they are in with them as well. And all of goodwill are welcome. And when they're ready, Bruce and Cheryl have our opening song for us.
Is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, whoever you are, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come yet again, whoever you are, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, come yet again,
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Bruce and Cheryl. So I have a few announcements before we get started. So the first announcement is just a big thank you to everyone who joined us last time. Rachel led us in a really fantastic restorative justice session, and we got to learn a lot about that. So thank you to Rachel. And also, it was our first hybrid session that we've ever had. Back before COVID, we used to meet in person in the Mount Pleasant area of Vancouver. And then during COVID, we switched to being online. And then we've been trying to figure out a way that we can still keep our good connections with all our folks online, but also offer an in-person option. So we're going to do that. We're hoping to do that maybe 4 or 5 times a year now. So the next one will be later this fall. I don't know that we've set an exact date, but yeah, so you can stay tuned with that. And then if you'd like to meet in person, we meet at the Center for Peace in the Kitsilano area of Vancouver. But otherwise, we're always available online. We're going to do what we can to make sure that it feels authentic and you get to feel like you're still an active part of the conversation, whether you're in person or online. And if you have any feedback about how that went, please write to us at livinginterfaithsanctuary@gmail.com, because if there were any like sound issues or any awkwardness like that, we want to sort that out and streamline it for everybody. So thank you. Next Saturday, September 14th, between noon and 7 p.m., there's going to be an event, Come Towards the Fire. It's a family-friendly, Indigenous-led festival that'll be at the Chan Center for Performing Arts in Vancouver. So it's free and it's open to everybody. And if you're interested in getting more details, you can find them here. I'm going to put them in the chat. And the Metro Vancouver Alliance is an organization that the Living Interfaith Sanctuary is a part of, and it's offering free community organizing trainings for everyone who's part of its members. So the next one is going to be on Friday, September 20th and 21st at St. Andrew's Wesley United Church. which is in Vancouver. And you're welcome to sign up for it at this link. Or if that timing doesn't work for you, in November, they're going to have it available on 2 Sundays, consecutive Sundays. And so you can get more information there. And then on Tuesday, September 24th, Van Dusen Botanical Gardens is going to have a workshop that'll be available both in person and online. It'll be offered by one of our interfaith friends, Dr. Jason Brown. He's a professor at Simon Fraser University and the multi-faith lead for the Ecological Chaplaincy Pilot Project. So the topic of the event is the fertile depths of ecological grief. And that's really what he works on. For everyone who's really experiencing grief and anxiety and sorrow about climate change and the destruction of the environment. So this particular event will be $20, but it is available, like I said, in person or online, and you can register for it there. And finally, I mentioned this last time, but we're a part of something called the Peace Train Initiative, which is a group from Vancouver Island that said, you know what, we really want to promote peace. And those of us here in Canada know that Canada used to be seen as a global leader in peacemaking, and that's become less so over time. And so we want to do a push to help promote peace programs both within Canada and also in an international way. So the organizers booked 30 seats on a train, berths, which are like bunk bed seats, on the train going from Vancouver to Ottawa. And that'll be November 15th through 20th. And then have been setting up meetings with lawmakers, as well as time on Parliament Square, to try to promote peacemaking and meet with lawmakers and try to encourage some kind of creation of something like we used to have the Pearson Center, which was a center to teach peacemaking skills, and something like that again. And so that project is coming together. I'm very excited. Myself and my family are going to be on it. I'm going to be teaching compassionate listening on it. And you can either be a peace trainer, which means you go on the train, or a peace tracker, as people who are just tracking what we're doing and kind of whether or not this works. And and they now have an official website for it. So I can put the link for that in the chat. I'm very excited. The kids are very excited. Like every 2 days, they say how many more days till the peace train. So you can see it there. So yes, those were many announcements, but that's what I have. How about you? Does anyone else have any other announcements they'd like to share now? Yes, Samir.
The next Repair Cafe is next Saturday, September 14th. It's at the Britannia Community Center, and it runs from 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And if you're interested, you can come and get like small appliances, textiles, electronics, computers fixed for free. It's recommended to book an appointment online if you just search for Vancouver Repair Cafe. Yeah, and I'll be volunteering there. I hope to see some of you there.
That's great. Thank you. Any other announcements? All right. Well, let's come into silence. We can assume a posture of prayer, whatever that looks like for us. And let us pray. So this is based on a prayer by Claudine Oliva. In the spirit of love and compassion, we say, Spirit of life, God of many names, be in our hearts and minds as we come together today in friendship and connection. We come today grateful for your world and hopeful for our future. We come knowing that everyone from our own traditions lifts our spirit in unity. We know we're a part of an interconnected web of life. So let us acknowledge and embrace our oneness. We pray that we may be loving and able stewards of the world. We pray that we might acknowledge our differences as we seek out our common ground, each of us working towards the good of all. We recognize that there's hurt and sorrow, there's pain and grief, and there are deeds that confound us and actions for which we can find no justification. Yet we also know there's untold good, folks who work every day for the benefit of all beings. We pray that you might help us have the strength to recognize the difficulty of our soul work and overcome the inertia that invades us during difficult times. We pray that while we recognize tiredness in our bones, and sometimes even in our hearts, that we might call upon the strength of you to help us become the best we're called to be. Let us be the good we want to see in others and work to be the change that we seek. And as we renew these goals in our hearts this year, let us say, may this be so. Amen.
And for our candlelighting prayer today, I have a reading from the Ratana Sutta, a Pali text called Happiness. Whatsoever beings are here assembled, those of the earth or those of the air, may all of them be happy. Let them all listen attentively to my words. Listen here, all beings. Show your love to those humans who day and night bring offerings to you. Therefore, guard them diligently. Whatever treasure there be, either here or in the world beyond, or whatever precious jewel there be in the heavens, yet there is none comparable to the accomplished one. On account of this truth, may there be happiness.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rachel. And now let's offer one another a sign of peace. Peace, everyone. Always so good to be with you.
Peace be with you.
Peace unto all.
Peace, my friends.
Peace, everyone.
Peace.
Assalamu alaikum.
Peace,
Allahu
everyone.
Akbar.
Peace to you.
Peace to everybody.
And when they're ready, Bruce and Cheryl have another song for us.
When hands reach out beyond device and hope is truly found, each chain of hate will fall away and bells of peace shall sound, and bells of peace shall sound, and bells of peace shall sound. Each chain of hate will fall away, and bells of peace shall sound. When fear no longer guides our steps, and days of war are done, God's dream for all shall live anew. Our hearts will heal as one. Our hearts will heal as one. Our hearts will heal as one. God's dream for all shall live anew. Our hearts will heal as one. When race and grave bind us no more, our neighbor's face will see, and then we shall dance the whole world round, for love will set us free. For love, yes, love will set us free. For love will set us free, and we shall dance the whole world round. For love will set us free.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I know someone who's creating a songbook of songs to sing on the peace train, and I want to add that one because that's a great option. Thank you. Here now, if you'll join me in our joint affirmation. Let me just put it up on the screen. There we go. Please join me. We come together in peace. We sing together in joy and with love. We worship together in one house. a house with names beyond number. Our paths are many, our beliefs are as leaves, and the tree that we cleave to is nourished by the light of compassion, justice, and mutual respect. May our lives, our beliefs, and our actions help to bring about the world of love we all seek, and let it begin here. Now is when we take some time to pray, just in our own homes and in our own ways. You're welcome to pray for any people or places or causes that are on your hearts right now. I know right now I'm especially thinking about the families of the victims of the latest school shooting. As you know, there was another school shooting in the US this past week at Appalachia High School near Atlanta, Georgia. 2 14-year-old students were murdered, as well as 2 teachers. The shooter is a 14-year-old boy, and he and his father are currently on trial for murder. So far, that was the latest of 23 school shootings that have been reported on K through 12 campuses in the US this year, and 49 people have been killed. So let's take some time to pray, friends. Thank you. And then when they're ready, Bruce and Cheryl have another song for us.
Om Shanti, Shalom, Assalam, Beatike Moen, Om Shanti, Shalom, Assalam, Beatike Moen, Om Shanti, Shalom, Assalam, Beatike Moen, Om Shanti. Shalom, Assalam, 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 Beatike Moen, Shalom, Om Shanti, Assalam, Beatike Moen, Shalom, Om Shanti, Assalam, Beatike Moen, Shalom. Shanti, Assalam, Beatike Moen, Shalom, Om Shanti, Beatike Moen, Om Shanti, Shalom, Assalam, Beatike Moen, Om Assalam, Beatike Moed, Om Shanti, Shalom. Assalam, Beatike Moed, Om Shanti, Shalom. Assalam, Assalam, Assalam. Assalam, Assalam, Assalam. Assalam, Assalam, Assalam.
A great song. Thank you so much. So now, as I usually say, if we met in person, we pass around a basket, but we are very technologically advanced now. I'm quite proud of us. And so in lieu of that, I'm going to put our Zephy page in the chat. So Zephy is this great program that our treasurer, Justin Thurn, found for us. It's like PayPal, but it doesn't take nearly the same fees as PayPal, so it's quite helpful. And so folks can make one-time or ongoing donations through that. And I know so many of you here have made many, many donations to us, and we're so grateful. That's what keeps us going. That's what helps pay for Rachel and Bruce and Cheryl and myself and our fantastic marketing specialist, Sunera and Mustakim. And so thank you for all that you contribute financially, and also just being supportive of folks in this community, showing up, sharing, sometimes preaching, sometimes offering prayers, showing your support for Interfaith in so many ways. And so we're very grateful. Thank you for all you do. And now when they're ready, Bruce and Cheryl have another song for us.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And Stephen's joining us. This is very exciting. So wonderful. So yes, this is our 6th anniversary, as we've said. So happy birthday to us. We're very happy. I remember in the early days when we met in person, every year I'd actually get us a birthday cake that we'd share afterwards, which is very fun. So I can send you an online birthday card or something like that. But yes, so we've been together 6 years. So I like looking up anniversary gifts. And so last year, I remember it was our 5th anniversary, and the gift for that is wood. And so the way we honored that was we actually sent some money to a charity that plants trees in northern BC to help combat all the wildfires that are happening. And so I thought that was a really beautiful way to kind of honor wood last year. And so I looked it up, and apparently the anniversary gift for the 6th year is iron. And I found that interesting for a few reasons. So one is, of course, iron is very, very durable. And so I really like the symbolism of that like we're strong, we've been through a lot. We've been through having to move buildings and having a whole pandemic and having various ups and downs and technological issues and various wars, including ongoing wars right now that have religion as very much a part of them. And yet we've stayed true and we've held fast to the goal of interfaith and bringing folks together across different faiths. And so we're very durable. And so I really appreciate that we have resilience and all of us here who keep meeting and connecting with each other. I hope you know how resilient you are and how much hope that inspires in me, and I hope in others. But the other reason that iron is really interesting is, so of course there was the Iron Age back in the day. So there had been the Stone Age, and then the Bronze Age, and then the Iron Age. And the Iron Age was from around 1200 BCE to 550 BCE. So this was around the period of the birth of Judaism and Buddhism. And so Hinduism started first. I don't know, Harold knows more about these things than I do, so Harold might be able to correct me on this. But I believe Hinduism started first, and of course was not one exact faith, but was a bunch of faiths. And of course, there are indigenous spiritualities that have always been practiced in different places around the world. But then during the Iron Age, there was the birth of two great traditions. And after that, shortly after that, Christianity came to be. And then after that, Islam and Sikhism and the Baha'i faith. And paganism was practiced as an indigenous tradition, has now had a resurgence. And so during this time, there were a lot of changes in the world and in international politics, and also in the global spirituality, and the birth of the idea of one God. And part of what was so the Iron Age is when there was the discovery of iron, and they realized it could be used because it was more durable than bronze, which was the main tool before that. But the main way that iron was used is as a tool for farming and for building things like that, but also mostly as a weapon. So iron made really good weapons. And so I looked it up in a few different faith traditions to see where iron has been referenced. And it's usually referenced regarding weapons. And so it's mentioned, the word iron is used 91 times in the Bible. And sometimes it's talking about tools, but that isn't as common as when it's talking about being used for violence in some capacity. So in Deuteronomy, it says he will put an iron yoke on your neck until he has destroyed you. And then it describes the Canaanites fighting with iron chariots and having to oppose armies that have many, many weapons made of iron. Egypt was described as an iron smelting furnace. And it was said that that's how they had so much power that they could take over part of the Middle East, and of course, enslave the Israelites at the time. I will give you horns of iron. I will give you hooves of bronze. And through this, you will break to pieces many nations. And this was God's promise through the prophet Micah, that iron could be used to break to pieces many nations. And so that's in the Jewish and Christian traditions. In the Quran, iron is mentioned 5 times, sometimes again as a tool, but other times it says in the afterlife, there will be maces of iron that are used to punish unbelievers or those who've committed so many bad things that they cannot go to paradise. And then there's a promise that God sent down iron, in which is material that you can use for mighty war, which is in Surah 57. In Hinduism, the Rig Veda mentions that there are beings that brandish an iron knife or iron spikes and use these to go to war against their enemies. And sometimes these beings are seen as good ones that you want to support, and you're very glad they have iron, but other times as your enemies that you yourself are fighting and all the iron that they have. And in the Mahabharata, Book 1, it says that Bhavaka then gave unto Krishna a discus with an iron pole attached to a hole in the center. This was a fiery weapon, and it soon became his favorite. So it's kind of ironic that for us, this is our 6th anniversary, and we're really celebrating how durable we are. But really, if we look at iron, we see it's often used for war. But you can see some other passages occasionally that reference what can we do with weapons if we want to get rid of them? How do we get rid of weapons? Well, perhaps we can use iron as a tool of peace instead. We can beat our swords into plowshares, something like that. How can we use a tool that's been given to us, apparently as a blessing from God, but actually use it in a way to try to help? So because it's so durable, rather than using this to harm others, how can we use it to build things that will support everyone, that can actually help everyone? And so I hope that that's what this community can do. So I hope that's what we've been doing. And I think that that is a way that we can use our durability and our iron in a good way to help people. And so I wonder, at the time when there was the Iron Age, oh, I see a hand up. Yes, Sue?
In the Baha'i faith, iron's a representation of transformation. So if you have an iron, whether it's a sword or whatever, if you put it in the fire, it transforms. Like there's the physical world and the spiritual world. So the fire's the spiritual world, and it gains the characteristics of spirit, which instead of being dark and cold and hard, it becomes, if it's in the fire, it becomes radiant and glowing. And so it's a symbol of spiritual transformation. So that's a good symbol for iron.
That's amazing. Thank you. And that's actually perfect, because what I was thinking of is, so when we had the first Iron Age, it's when people started making more tools and then weapons with the iron. But one of the things I love in the Baha'i faith is the idea that we are advancing, that even though, it often feels like you take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, that actually it's the opposite of that. We are making slight progress, even as we still have wars and we still have things that are happening that are really causing so much destruction, that we actually are still moving forward and we're coming together as a people. So what if this could be like a second Iron Age, but this time we're actually using it for transformation? So thank you for giving me the language for that, for a kind of transformation to use these same skills so that we can actually help and benefit people. So I think that's what we're trying to do here, and that's what I love. And so I see, even today, I know back in the spring, I shared about how difficult it is trying to do interfaith work right now, particularly with the war in Palestine and Israel. And that I myself have been very sad and had a hard time at many months actually of having a hard time with it, where I see people who in the past I know had worked together, Jews and Muslims who'd worked together, Christian and Jewish communities that had worked in partnership. And right now it feels like that's being severed and these relationships are being pulled apart. And as someone who worked in the region and who's tried to do interfaith work and peace work since 2008, it can be really just disillusioning and depressing to see that, gosh, we try to do all this work to try to bring things together, but it all falls apart. But maybe that's why we need iron, because iron is more durable. It can actually be more durable than the hatred and the misinformation we have about each other and the religious biases and these things that will seek to pull us apart. What if it can actually bind us together? And so one of the benefits of getting to be the spiritual leader here is folks will reach out to me because they say, you know what, I don't know anything about this other faith and I'd like to learn more. So can you point me in the right direction? What text should I read so I can understand Hinduism better? I myself am Christian in a small town, and I'd love to get to know my Muslim neighbors, but I don't even know how to approach them. So what can I do to start to connect with them and get to know people from that community? This is still a confidential thing, so I can't share more about it. But this past week, somebody reached out to me, and it's 2 different religious communities that are discussing moving in together and sharing a building. And some of the complications around that, logistic complications and some other complications, but they want to make it work. And it's so beautiful to see that even when we have climate change and we have ongoing war and we have a lot of anxiety about the future and we have online so much misinformation and purposeful hatred that's put out to try to divide us, that there are still people trying to learn more, trying to reach out, trying to connect with others. And so I love for our 6th anniversary, I love the idea of us as iron, a kind of iron for good. But also in Buddhism, 6 is an important number because it references the 6 perfections. And these are the perfections that I hope we can live into. I hope we've been doing at least some of these before, and I hope we can in the year ahead. And these perfections are generosity of spirit, but also of financial means. So when we have some money, how do we share it with others? When we have some time, when we have resources of any kind, how do we share those with others, including folks in different faith traditions? Morality is the second one. So holding ourselves to an ethical standard, not promoting violence, not trying to steal or do anything that will harm others, take things from them, try to promote anything that would hurt them in any way, but holding ourselves to a very high moral standard. Having a lot of patience. I think maybe that's what we need during this time when it feels like there is so much hatred around us. But how do we stay patient? How do we keep working on it, even if it feels like, gosh, I'm trying to build this connection with this community or these people, and it just feels like I'm just churning or stuck in the mud with this, but we have to have patience, keep working on it. How do we promote diligence? That's the 4th one. So again, the same, we're going to keep working. We're not going to give up. We can still promote this. We can still come together and have a peaceful world? How do we work on concentration? So in Buddhism, concentration is how you can actually have your practice, how you can stay still, even when you have all your emotions coming up, all your thoughts, your monkey mind is taking over. How can we concentrate? And so, especially in this distracted age, how do we concentrate and focus on what's really important and not get kind of bogged down in the weeds of other small things that could take up our time, but really focus on what's most important. And finally, having wisdom or prajna. So I believe the interfaith is very wise. It puts lots of wisdom into the world. The idea that the divine is actually the same, is present in all beings, is present for all of us. And as we've grown up in different places and backgrounds and cultures, that's looked different for us. But really, there's wisdom in taking the time to learn from one another and understanding how the divine has shown up in others' lives. Because truly, I don't believe that that's a totally different spirit or being. Really, we can learn from one another. We can understand others' perspectives on these things. So I hope that in the year ahead, we'll practice these 6 perfections of generosity, morality, patience, diligence, concentration, and wisdom. And that together these can, as Paul G said, help us last not just 6 years, but 16 or 60 or 60,000 years. So we can keep putting forward this spirit into the world and hopefully help bring about peace. So that's my hope for us. Paul G, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing the wisdom from all the different faiths. I just thought for completion purposes, I'll just share from Sikhism's viewpoint,
Yes,
whatever
please.
you shared about the iron. Yes. And there are also 6 beautiful messages that we talk about in our scriptures. And the first one is so beautiful. It says, I have been transformed from being a rusty iron into gold the moment I came into contact with the Guruji, which is the philosopher's stone. So that's the first perspective, that we are all irons. Our minds are so rusty, but the moment we touch the philosopher's stone, we become like gold. Number 2, iron is also talked about when we talk about wisdom cannot be found through mere words. To explain wisdom or true wisdom is as hard as iron. That's the second perspective. The third perspective is about coming to a society of holy, like-minded people, like what we do every 2 weeks here. Because when we come here, just like you attach iron to the wood in a ship, for example, the heavy iron will not sink, but because it's attached to the wood, it will swim across. And in the same way, we will also be able to swim across in the society of saintly people. Number 4, it is the most beautiful part about and the power of what we call transformation from a manmukh to a gurmukh, which is the evil-minded people who follow what their mind teaches them rather than follow what the teachings of the Guru, the Master, the scriptures are. So there are many more beautiful lessons, but I thought I would just share this for, since you say we learn from everyone. Thank you so much for the time. Please forgive me for the mistakes, and let's all come together to the society of holy people from all different faiths and also be saved. Thank you so much.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. See, this is so cool. I love in our community. It can be like, wait a minute, I don't know anything about iron in the Baha'i faith or in Sikhism. And just like, actually, here we go. I know all this. Like, what a fantastic resource this is. And yes, Broadus?
Oh, hi. A reflection about iron. When I think about iron, when I was in the service, and myself and my dad was in the military as well, and he always talked about surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And he always used to say, iron sharpens iron. And he talked about it in terms of the fact that of accountability. You surround yourselves with like-minded people who are on this pointed in the right direction, who are on the same path, and that you hold each other accountable. You encourage each other. You uplift each other. You well, he used to say chastise, but you hold each other accountable. When you see something, you say something about it, and you do it with love, of course. So that's what I think of when I think of iron. Just like I guess a hammer and tong, and you just keep each other sharp, keep each other focused, keep each other uplifted. So That's what I think of when I think of iron. And of course, the gym too. We go to the gym to do what? Pump iron. And so that means there, I see it on a bigger level. We seek to improve ourselves. So iron can be used as a tool for improvement, not only physically, but spiritually as well.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Yes, and Harold, and then me, because I have something to share at the end.
Yeah, Cathy, when you were sharing about iron, I was thinking immediately about technology and infrastructure. And, for example, in the late 1990s, I was using snail mail and fax. I was trying to do interfaith work with snail mail and fax and the telephone. And then suddenly I got into email. Someone enlightened me with a different infrastructure. And I helped organize a big interfaith conference at UBC. It had 1,000 people. And I almost have like a mystical relationship with technology. I don't understand it, but I see what great power it has. And I think of, for example, you send a message and you can talk to people in Japan. That's what I was doing. Japan, India, and all over Europe, and organizing people from all over the world. And I see that you have used technology so beautifully, for the Living Interfaith Fellowship. I especially when the COVID came along, and so the Living Interfaith Fellowship could suddenly be online, right? And I found, there was hope. People were connecting to do devotions that are in different time zones, So on one hand, it was a horrible, nightmare for humanity, but infrastructure and technology really could be used in a very positive way. I think of you and Samir as sort of incarnations of the positive use of technology. I think Samir has really helped. I've seen him make a gathering online go so smoothly, no one even notices that we're not there in person. And anyway, I love the use you've made of technology. It shows how all these bounties that humanity has can be used for horrible purposes or for very good purposes. So that was a very universal theme you were developing in your talk about iron. Thank you so much.
Oh, no, that's wonderful. I really appreciate that. And I can get down about social media and screens and things. So actually hearing it in that way, see, just like you said, that's so helpful. So as some of you know, I have some good news to share today. I should say it's actually bittersweet news. But so I'm so happy that Reverend Stephen Greenbaum is here. So Stephen is, of course, my mentor. Well, I've known Stephen since 2010. I met him at an interfaith conference in Washington State, and I was there to speak about Israel-Palestine and peace work there. And he was talking about how he was starting the Living Interfaith Church. And so he wanted to start an interfaith community in the Seattle area where folks came together exactly like this, except in person. And we took turns and we got to hear from each other and learn from one another. And you never preach about anyone else's faith tradition. You always take the time, and all of us from all different faiths come together and take turns hearing from each other. And I was so inspired by that my family and I joined. And so I've known Stephen for 14 years now. And so we went to the Living Interfaith Church. So it started in 2010 and it's continued until now. And the bittersweet news is it's actually closing down. So the Living Interfaith Church is shutting down now, and they're giving us their funds. And their members are joining the Living Interfaith Sanctuary. And because we're online, and during COVID, they also moved online. And actually, the reason that we meet on the first and third Saturdays of the month is they always met on the second and fourth. And that way, if folks wanted to go to both faith services, they could always go. So some folks like Rebecca and like Stephen and Steve Crawford and Bill Griffith and my dad, James Keene, have been going to both for years now since COVID. But for a variety of reasons, they're closing down. And so that is very sad, but they lasted 14 years. So that is amazing. And under the leadership of Stephen for much of that time. And then when he retired, under the leadership of Reverend Marie, Prefta's Arends, and she has been amazing. And so their community has been amazing and is really what inspired me to get into Interfaith, to start doing this work. And the Living Interfaith Sanctuary was founded completely even using the same order of service as the Living Interfaith Church. So we came out of them and have been working in conjunction with them. But they're closing down now, and they're giving us, so this is the part of the good news. So they're giving us $30,000, which is amazing, which is more than, like, our budget is around, I think, 23,000 a year. So more than a year's full amount of money. And Stephen's been supporting us along the way as well. And so we have more money now, and we have some new members as their members have joined us. So we can actually do some new things that folks want to do in the coming year. If they have a ministry that they are really interested in, such as something around violence against women, or something around the environment, or repair cafes, or interfaith education, we actually have some money for that. And I can also share that 3 weeks ago, I met with the grant writer from a local foundation that gives grants to organizations that they believe are doing things to bring people together in the world, specifically if those things are against hatred, against anti-Semitism, against racism, things like that. And they said, oh, your organization is doing the exact kind of work we want to support. So if you tell me what project you want to do, we can get you a grant for it. And so we actually have more resources now. And so going into this next year, we really want to know as the council, what do folks want to work on? What are the kind of projects we want to do? We've discussed revisiting our charity application through the CRA. And if we want to focus more on spiritual ministries, if we want to focus more on educational initiatives, or again, things in the community. And the person I spoke to who would help us apply for charity status said, if you need to get charity status, you have to tell them exactly the kind of stuff you want to be doing over the next 10 years. You can't say, okay, let's get it now, and now in 2 years, we're going to add a totally different program. It's different than what we first said we were doing. So they said, really start planning, start thinking through what are the things you want to be doing? How do we want to grow? What kind of stuff do we want to add? Do we want to have more meditation? What do we want to be working on? And put all of that in the application. And she said, because we've been around, when we first applied, it was our first year as an organization. And so we did not get it for a few reasons. But she said, I think now you've lasted long enough. And I myself have been doing this work for a long time. And so if we can show this is the stuff we're committed to doing, she has strong faith that she could help get us charity status. And now we have the finances to work on some things we want to do. So that is my good news, albeit bittersweet because of the church. So please think about it. Start thinking about what you want us to work on and what you want to be working on. Please don't just send me things you want me to do. I am very busy. What are things that you want to do with people here, including me, but also with other people here? What are the things we want to be doing going forward? So that is our very good news. I look forward to hearing from you in a really good conversation with Dan Malink. One of the things I said is it's important to me that folks don't just come twice a month and then go home and never think about any of this again. I hope that it's affecting us in a good way in the rest of the world. So one of the things he said that I agree would be really helpful is after this, each week, I want to have a time where we kind of put it out there, like, what's a real life moment in interfaith for you? What's interfaith in the real world like? In the last couple of weeks, did you reach out to someone from a different faith? Did you read up on something? Did you research something? Did you visit another faith tradition? How is this affecting you? Not just here. If you love it here, that's awesome. But also, what are we doing to help promote this? And so, yeah, so please let us know. Please send your ideas and thoughts to Rachel, Living Interfaith Sanctuary @gmail.com, and start talking to us about it, because we actually have the means to do some really great stuff in the world. So thank you. And now when they're ready, Bruce and Cheryl have one more song for us.
place at the table for everyone born, clean water and bread, a shelter, a space, a safe place for growing, for everyone born, a star overhead, for all who share life, a place at the table, revising the roles, deciding a share, with wisdom and grace, dividing the power, for all who share life, a system that's fair. And God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. Yes, God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy. For those we neglect, a place at the table, a voice to be heard, a part in the song, the hands of a child in hands that are wrinkled, for those we neglect, the right to belong, for all who have breath, a place at the table, a covenant share, a welcoming space, a rainbow of race and gender and color, for all who have breath, the chalice of grace. And God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy, compassion and peace. Yes, God will delight when we are creators of justice and joy.
That was perfect, Bruce and Cheryl. What a wonderful way to end today. So, friends, let's keep talking. Let's talk to each other. Let's connect with each other and folks outside this community. And please bring your ideas. I have a lot of excitement for the year and years ahead. And I hope you do too. And I trust that together we can do so many beautiful things in this world that will benefit all beings. May it be so.